and welcome back to another episode of This Week in VR. Coming up is Batman Arkham Shadow Game of the Year, and are we getting eye tracking for a potential Quest 4? And is Meta screwing over game developers? So stay tuned to hear all the news. First up, it's the spooky season, which means there's lots of games that are releasing their Halloween themed updates, and it's also a good time to play some horror games. So let me know your favorite horror games in the comments. I think one of my favorites has to be Phasmophobia in VR, and some good news because Phasmophobia Early Access is releasing on October 29th for the PlayStation VR 2. I absolutely love this game, it's great in multiplayer, and it's awesome that PlayStation fans get to experience it as well. And speaking of the PlayStation VR 2 and spooky games, we might have got a leak that Resident Evil Biohazard is coming to the PlayStation VR 2. A pre-order listing on an Australian retailer's website shows the game listed for PlayStation 5, but if you look closely at the classification label, you will see that it mentions VR. Users on Reddit speculate this could be a mistake and it's just generic box art, as this game does already exist for the PlayStation VR 1, but this game is really heckin' cool, especially in VR, so if they are remaking it for the PlayStation VR 2, I would be super stoked. But also, it's probably wishful thinking, and this is just a mistake. In terms of other Halloween updates, we've got cosmetic and environmental stuff happening in lots of games. We've got stuff happening in Gorilla Tag, Yeep's Hide and Seek, Population 1, Lego Bricktales, and so much more. But one of the coolest updates has to be in Shaven Stuff, who have added a whole new location in the game. The environment is like a spooky cemetery, and I always love jumping back in this game because it's just so fun and cute. And in this update, you get to complete makeovers on creatures such as vampires, werewolves, zombies, or witches. And you can make the makeovers as ridiculous as you want, or you can try and please them if that's your thing as well. The Halloween environment is temporary, so make sure to jump on in before it disappears. And the developers have also added a new themed update to their other game, Pets and Stuff, which has a brand new location called Fantasyland, where you can make over mythical characters and also earn stars to upgrade your environments. These games keep going viral on social media for a reason, and that's because they're so satisfying to play and are highly polished in detail, and they've got a special deal going at the moment where each game is 27% off, so it's only $10.99 each to buy, or you can buy them both in a bundle for 32% off. So thank you HyperVR for sponsoring this video. Now, we can't talk about games news without talking about Batman. Batman Arkham Shadow started their release week with a little bit of an oopsie. Batman was meant to release on the 22nd of October at 10 AM, and somehow, unbeknownst to the developers, it got released early. And Ryan Payton, the founder at Camouflage, had this to say about the issue.
I started getting these DMs on Discord. People started sending me screenshots of the main menu. Like, how the heck are they seeing the main menu? The unfortunate circumstance on the back end. One way that players can redeem the game in advance just ended up working somehow, some way that a subset of players were able to download the game early. Obviously, panic ensues. And so, yeah, we decided because only a subset were going to be playing, we're like, fine, we just flip the switch.
VR content creator Substatica did make this really fun image though in light of the situation from the perspective of the villain, the Rat King, which I think is really cute. And I know from being amongst game reviewers in certain Discords, they were not happy with the moved embargo. But hey, when is getting a game early ever a bad thing? Just don't punch your TV while playing like J-Bar did. But what do the game reviewers actually have to say about Batman? Well, some are claiming that it's the game of the year, and that's not coming from VR enthusiasts. That's coming from your basic run-of-the-mill gamers. And some are even claiming it's the best Batman game ever. Now, I'm no uber Batman fan, but I do know that's a bold claim. And even your major game review outlets are rating this game highly, and it's currently sitting at a score of 85 on the Metacritic website. But why is this such a big deal? Well, VR has been craving that AAA game experience for a very long time. And I think Meta kind of hoped that would happen with Asgard's Wrath 2, and they hoped it would make it that VR headset seller they desperately wanted. And while Asgard's Wrath was a cool game, it's an unknown franchise, so people aren't going to care too much about it. But Batman, he's a big deal. So if people love Batman enough and know there's a good Arkham game available, they're probably going to buy VR just so they can play it. And that's what the Quest hardware has been so desperately missing. Like, I think for a long time, Beat Saber was kind of that headset seller, and we've seen games like Half-Life Alyx make people buy into VR just to play their favorite franchise. But outside of that, all the big franchise games in VR have been kind of a big flop. And there's been no major game release that would make people buy VR just to play that game. Until now. With the raving reviews of Batman Arkham Shadow and the release of the MetaQuest 3S for only $300, seems like a perfect storm for VR to get that traction that people have been really wanting for the industry. But we will have to see, will people buy the VR headset for Batman and then let the headset become a paperweight? I'm not sure, but I sure hope not though. I love VR and always wanted to succeed, and I think Camouflage have done an amazing job on the release of this game, and I'm happy the VR gamers get to experience it. But I don't know how, but Twitter user RDH was able to get Batman running on the Quest 2. They showed some clips of some very framing gameplay, but they don't show how they were able to do it. But regardless, it doesn't look like a good experience, so maybe don't try this at home, but kind of amusing they got it to work. And in terms of other game releases, Hitman 3 Reloaded is getting an update, and responses to the dev fix in the game seem pretty positive on Twitter. Some of the changes include stability improvements and game crash fixes, and hopefully XR Games will be able to turn this game around a bit and appease some of the angry customers who purchase. And we're already starting to see players adjust their reviews based on the updates to the game, which is pretty promising. But VR is cool and all, but will it ever be this cool? An app concept by Reddit user Jester722 showcases a potential mixed reality future where it can overlay your real life environment with different themes with just the touch of a button. I think visually they've done an amazing job with this, but it all feels a little bit dystopian. But with Meta soon allowing developers to access the pass-through cameras on the Quest headsets via an upcoming API integration, maybe this could be possible. This concept is obviously showcased on the Apple Vision Pro, but it could potentially work with something similar on the Quest. And speaking of Apple Vision Pro, there's some rumors floating around that they are scaling back production as they got enough stockpile of the headsets and are focusing development on a cheaper headset. Tim Cook also spoke about the headset to WSJ and says at $3,500, it's not a mass market product. Right now, it's an early adopter product for people who want to have tomorrow's technology today, and that's who it's for. Fortunately, there's enough people who are in that camp, and that's exciting. He also reiterates that success doesn't happen overnight, and none of their previous products did. I'm kind of surprised to hear such a humble statement about the Vision Pro from Tim Cook, and I'm really curious about the future plans for the headset. Like, do they really consider Meta a threat? Are they scared that a Meta AR glasses will replace the iPhone? Because I'm sure that's what Meta wants. And if they did actually succeed in that, then Apple is in serious trouble. But I guess these companies are always thinking of the long-term vision, but who knows what will happen in the future. We could all get abducted by aliens by then. But it looks like Meta is thinking of the future with a rumored headset with eye tracking. It got leaked a while ago that the Quest 4 is codenamed Project Pismo, and Twitter user Luna spotted a listing for people to come test a wearable device that records their facial expressions in the San Francisco Bay Area. The listing was titled Project Pismo, but was conveniently changed once Luna made the post. The listing has now been completely removed, but things are starting to add up. While I'm pretty confident that this was Meta testing the device, it doesn't guarantee that the Quest 4 will have eye tracking. Meta are known for testing many prototypes, but I think Meta and Apple are always in competition with each other, so if Apple has eye tracking, then Meta is going to want to have eye tracking too. Competition is always good for the consumer. But Meta has been criticized lately for screwing over game developers with the changes on the Quest store. If you've opened up the Quest app lately, now named Meta Horizon, you can see a big shift that focuses all on Horizon Worlds. And if you want to check out what's on the store, you have to select the very tiny icon that's sitting all the way in the top left-hand corner, which is devastating for VR game developers as exposure to the game is so hidden. But it gets worse. Vermilion Creator declares they've been seeing a big crash in reach and revenue since July when the changes were implemented, and many developers mirror this sentiment as well. He also highlights that searching for games sometimes prioritizes Horizon World listings instead of the actual game. And maybe newbie VR owners may not even know the difference and jump into some janky Horizon World ripoff instead of playing the actual game. He also claims that developers may also be feeding the Gen AI beast for Horizon Worlds. At MetaConnect, they announced that AI is coming to Horizon Worlds, where basically you can ask it to create worlds from scratch. And we all know that AI needs to get its inspiration from somewhere, right? So will this feature just be ripping things from existing games? I sure hope not. And I think think that feature is a fair way off, but also pretty concerning. I do know that many game developers are getting paid big bucks to create worlds for Horizon Worlds. And maybe if it is true, Meta doesn't want to support standalone games anymore. They want everything to exist within their own metaverse. I of course hope that that is very much not the case, and hopefully they turn around the App Store to make it a lot more functional, because at the moment it really isn't great. But not every company is so optimistic about VR. I've had my fingers crossed for a long time for an official Minecraft VR game on the Quest, but it looks like those dreams have been shattered. Minecraft, aka Microsoft, have officially ceased support on the VR version of Minecraft. They said, "Our ability to support VR MR devices has come to an end and will no longer be supported in updates after March of 2025. When you will receive your final update, you will no longer be able to use your VR MR device with Minecraft, as it will no longer be supported in the latest updates." Bummer, man. This is mostly sad news because it becomes pretty clear that Microsoft hates VR and aren't willing to spend any time investing in it. Of course, you can still play Minecraft in VR via the Vivecraft or Questcraft mods, but they can be pretty janky and really hard to install. And I think an official Minecraft VR game would have been amazing for the community. But alas, I think those dreams are now officially shattered, and Microsoft have been pretty clear that they don't really care about VR. And remember last week when I mentioned that you can now access your Motorola phone on your Quest and offended a few Motorola fans in the process? Well, something interesting came up on my feed, and it was a post by Twitter user Morton Horlick, who showcases themselves mirroring the phone in VR. And I thought surely this is some weird hacking wizardry, but it turns out it's super simple. He said he just searched for mirroring apps on the App Store that let you cast to a Chrome-based browser, and voila. I haven't personally tested this out, but for those curious, this might be a nifty feature. Also, for those who like to tinker and create content, LIV have officially announced a creator SDK for the standalone Quest. So if you're not familiar with LIV, they make the app that allows you to film in mixed reality like I do in my Beat Saber videos. So you will be able to film in selfie mode, first-person mode, or third-person mode within standalone Quest games. Currently, it looks like it's in development for Gorilla Tag, which I know will get a lot of use, but if developers choose to add this SDK to the games, we'll start to see it in a lot more games. And I think it's a really great tool for creators, because you have no idea how hard it is to capture content sometimes. But that pretty much wraps up this week in VR. Let me know what you thought the most interesting bit of news was, and also what games you've been currently playing. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.